Well, it's good to have this thing going. Remember last year when I think the year before us, people were talking about doing online retreats, and I was certain I could never do that. So weird, talking to a computer screen. And then this COVID thing came down, and people were doing online retreats. I thought, no, I can't do that. And when somebody asked me to do it, so 4 days after I said I can never do it, I started doing it. And that's the way it goes. And this year was going to be a series of earth-based retreats in the United States. And one of them was going to be up in Oregon. And also I noticed that Willa was going to be teaching in Washington around about that time. So we kind of arranged our timings so that we wouldn't overlap. You know, I'd be teaching this time, she'd be teaching that time. There's a possibility we could kind of meet each other somewhere in the middle of all that. And of course, the whole thing blew up. And I felt, well, this is really a shame, disappointing to, you know, because people important have been inviting me for years to teach a retreat there. So I said, well, I could do an online retreat, you know, and to compensate for the fact that this occasion's been blown out of the water. And so, okay, so then, well, how do we do that? Nobody really knew that well, but Carol, who knows both of us, Willa and myself, who was going to go to both retreats, she said she'd step up and then gradually pull together a kind of team of people like Deanna and Jotika and Christine and Vita, who, you know, they've done things before. So we gradually pulled these things, started pulling it together. And I thought, well, the missing piece is Willa, because she would be doing the retreat, you know, and then also because she's in New Zealand, she can do my night shift. And so I've known Willa, well, since 1991, I think. Yeah, and of course, I've been really seen very much over the last 15 years or so, 12, 15 years. So it was a special opportunity, I thought. Really nice to both to have occasion to share Dhamma together and to try to respond to our teaching, well, obligations by teaching interests, and to meet the wishes of sincere practitioners like yourselves. So this is how this came about, and I'm really up for it, you know. So I'm very happy to be doing these things these days. You know, so I feel pretty good that whatever, just the fact of this, what this occasion represents, will tend to have a certain pull to it that will gradually, you know, the title of the retreat came from a Maori expression that Willa, when we talked about what we're going to talk about, she came up with this Maori saying, that sounds good to me, we'll use that as the title of the retreat. So here it is, taking shape, taking place, and here we are all in it. So I'm interested and welcoming everybody's presence. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Thank you, Bhante. Yes, here we are. You know, we're spanning the globe. Here it's still night on a Sunday morning. You know, over in England, it's a different day, a different season. So it was really seemed, well, fortunate really to be able to share this time with Ajahn Sucitto and yourselves, that we could actually make something happen that would work for the Pacific Northwest, you know, where we both have, you know, community we love to be with, but also open it up to the broader communities. So yeah, it's going to be fun because, you know, we're really in different times. So we're going to have to try and see to what extent we can kind of link and shift and stay in flow with each other. So it seems particularly weird and abstract, but getting more real as we're here. You know? Normally, if you're teaching with someone else, you're actually sitting in the room with them, kind of resonating. So from here, I'll certainly be doing my best to stay in the resonance of what's being offered between us both and with yourselves, so that it actually meets where you're at. So I guess I see my work for this retreat is really to really deepen in and feel you all. Just really stay present. I mean, I have a friend a mile up the road sitting right now, but beyond that, out and out. And when we were meeting, a little retreat meeting, maybe last week, one of the team was reading off the places that we're all coming from. And it was like lights coming on all over the planet. So just that sense for me is sitting and feeling your kind of the light of Dhamma in these different places we're all sitting. And we can, feeling of shining forth. And Ajahn Sucitto and I had a little meeting and said, well, what should we do? And we were just seeing where we were both up to. But it was very quickly we came to the sense of, love being intrinsic to practice. So within life, breath, love. So this is the territory we'll be working with, exploring, deepening into, how these actually come together. So yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to this time of practice. And I know, some of you have to come and go a little and will be in different times. But just to feel whether I'm awake and one of you is sleeping, or you're awake and I'm sleeping, the sense that we're holding this hum really for the next 6 days. So yeah, looking forward to being with you all. And we can't have you directly talking to us, but there is the engagement through the Q&A, and we'll try and really stay pertinent to what's actually happening for you within this. So, yeah. Anything else, Bhante, before we kind of shift gear into the formal?
I think there's a lot else, but take it a bit at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do just want to kind of echo what Willa was saying, just about the very, you probably think you're sitting there on your own in your room, because that's what it looks like. From one perspective on sense consciousness, but actually there's something about this linkage which is not pure technology. It's not technology, it's heart technology. And there's a tremendous power to that, to the collective thing that requires just our faith and our sense of commitment, to sharing. And we're this COVID thing has been very isolating, and that's the appearance of it. But when you enter the truth of the heart, that's the point. One of the points of entering the truth of the heart. This is where the boundaries dissolve, and the world of time and space backs off. And you're in something that's undivided and intimate and shared. So that's what we want to. Well, that's what I'm interested in deepening into, because this is where you get your nourishment and your enrichment, and your true beauty starts to occur.
Yeah.
Okay, so host, move us on. Tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, enriched, fully awakened one, who is awakening, has given us so much blessing and possibility. This is where all the teachings come from, and the one who found the way. So in that spirit, one is requested, then one cannot hold back. So this was the Buddha's realization. This particular series of words is attributed to a force or a quality or an energy of the universe called Brahma Sampati, kind of energetic force in the universe that's aware, of all the sentient forms in the universe. And this force, this Brahma Sampati, descends to the Buddha and recognizes this is the only one who's found the way out of this vast teeming universe of forms, energies. So he kneels, prostrates himself and says, please, out of compassion, teach the Dhamma. And there are those who are a little dust in their eyes who can find a way out of this endless churning of birth and death. So this is the request to teach out of anukampa. And anukampa, the word means something like to resonate, to shiver with, to sympathize with. It's the fundamental empathy. I might say this is the foundation, one of the foundational forms that we often use the word love to, one of the ways in which one of the experiences that this word love encompasses. It's a sense of profound resonance and sympathy for the welfare of others. So out of this is where one teaches. And the Buddha's teaching arose from that. It seems that at that particular time he didn't quite know what to say. So it took him quite a while walking all the way to Varanasi from where he was to just try to put some ideas together about what would work. And so eventually arrived at Varanasi and said, look, I found this way. And this is, again, what they call turning the wheel of the law, turning the Dhamma wheel. And began to teach the Four Noble Truths, the way out of suffering and stress. So this is what this particular recitation is a memory of, an icon of. And this is, when you hear that, if you have something to share, you share it. Okay, so I think the first thing we would do is take the refuges. If we wish to align ourselves to the teachings of the Buddha, it's appropriate that we determine to take the Buddha as our refuge, as our teacher, the teachings and our sense of the right community awakening as our practical guidelines, refuges, and then the precepts. The precepts, we're going to take the 8 precepts as is a suitable sense of really, kind of a graduated, moderated withdrawal from the daily round. You can take any spirit you like, but we're looking at obviously moral qualities, and also then renunciation qualities. Because here the movement is from the sense world into the realm of the heart. Move from the sense world, pleasure, pain, so forth, and worldly activities. There's that, yes, that's part of what we're about, but we want to first center in the heart qualities so the heart can lead the senses rather than the other way around. So we turn to the heart, we look at really what is our relational appropriateness, and it's always going to be harmlessness to others, to oneself, non-manipulation, non-abuse, restraining the power of the senses, which tend to pull us out. This is the spirit of the 8 precepts. Now, I recognize that we're trying to refrain from eating after noon when we're dealing with a global time issue. Time, afternoon could be just about any time, really. So you can either determine the after midday in your own time zone, yeah, or if that happens to come right in the middle of a Dhamma session, you know, you're then try to find a time where you can say, okay, that's enough for today. Just stop now. Okay, so you give yourself a good 10, 12 hours. Just put food aside so you can kind of create a boundary of that restraint, because the time is not, you know, it doesn't really matter what numbers on the clock. It's a sense of cultivating moderation and restraint. So if someone would like to request the precepts and refuges, we can resonate, chant that together.
This is Jeet, and I would help lead the requesting the 3 refuges and the 8 precept. My camera is not on. I don't know why. I'm not pretty good at this. So if everyone's ready, would you please bow 3 times with me? And you can find the chanting requesting the 3 refuges and the 8 precept on page 16, if you'd like to join me. Let's bow 3 times. Mayang Phante Tisaranena Saha Atha Silani Yajama Tutiyampi Mayang Phante Tisaranena Saha Atha Silani Yajama Tatiyampi Mayang Phante Tisaranena Saha Atha Silani Yajama.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Okay, we will repeat after Ajahn Sucitto from now on until the end, okay? So here we go. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranam gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranam gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Tutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Tutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Tutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanagamanam pitam.
Ama pante.
Pavanati pata veramani sikapatang samadhiyami.
Anatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creatures.
Adinna dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Atinnathana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Brahmacharya Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Undertake the precept to refrain from any kind of sexual activity.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any kind of intentional sexual activity.
Savada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Undertake the precept to refrain from false and harmful speech.
I undertake the precept to refrain from false and harmful speech.
Suramiraya majjapamatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya Macha Pamatatana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Undertake the precept to refrain from intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs, which leads to carelessness.
Vikalojana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Vikala Poshana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Undertake the precept to refrain from eating at the wrong time.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at the wrong time,
Or inappropriate time. Yeah.
inappropriate time.
Yeah. Then you wriggle room on that one.
Thank you, Bhante.
Natchagi Vadi to Visukkadasana Malaganda Vilepanadharana Mandana Vibhusana Thana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Naja Gita Watita Visukatasana Mala Ganta Vilepana Tarana Mandana Vipusanathana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornments.
I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment.
Ucca Sayana Mahasayana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Uchasayana Mahasayana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Undertake the precept to refrain from lying high and luxurious sleeping places.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place.
Imani Sikkhapadani Samadhiyami.
Imani atta sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani atta sikkhapadani samadhiyami. Imani atta sikkhapadani samadhiyami.
Imani Sikkhapadani Silena Sukhatinyanti Silena Bhoga sampada silena nippo tingyanti tasama silang visodaye. These 8 precepts undertaken are a vehicle towards happiness, a vehicle towards fulfillment, a vehicle towards coolness and dispassion. Therefore, these precepts should be purified.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's all bow 3 times.
At this very auspicious moment, I might take my leave since it's very late, very early in our morning here, and I'll join with you later on. So enjoy your time together.
Okay. So yeah, we've started to put down some markers, say, determining the field. This is the moral field, the renunciant field. So you're curtailing certain activities, restraining certain activities, and also collecting into a community field. So there's both a sense of restraint, which you're drawing in, also a sense of enrichment. You're opening up to the presence of other people, to the presence of the teaching, and to the presence of your own vitality, your own aspirations, your own Dhamma practice. So it's really holding it, And if we hold that carefully, and this is really what mindfulness is based upon, just holding this sense of holding a boundary, you stay within that, then you're going to deepen. Deepening means you're coming out of just superficial circumstances into karma, into old patterns, old energies, personal issues, and also through that into something transpersonal, transcendent, qualities of joy, compassion, openness, spaciousness, silence, and so on. This is the journey. So we stay within that boundary, and we gradually discern through this this personal world of sensations and thoughts and ideas and daily concerns. We begin to manage that in order to ask it to part, to open up. And this is where love and breath are your main allies in that process. They really are partners. We might say, starts out, when we look at these things, breathing in a way is the bodily part aspect of it. It begins as a bodily experience. Love is the heart aspect of it. And these are seemingly two coming from different angles. And what they're doing is they're moderating. First of all, we try to connect to those as realities, not just as ideas, but as real living experiences. And they cut when we try to cover our body with our bodily experience with a quality of breathing, and heart experience with a quality of love, and all of it together. And this is where we need to always begin to rework what these terms mean. What is breathing anyway? What is love? What is life? Love is the breath of life. What is life? Other than, it's not, is it making a living? Not really. Is it just kind of plodding away, getting by through a series of circumstances until you die? Doesn't seem particularly inspiring. What is life? It's a good question. But let's start. What is love, and what is it? What's it not? What's it sometimes confused with? Passion, where a degree of heightened stimulation, passion. There's this kind of emotional heating, and whereby with passion we kind of overflow boundaries. That's what's so nice about it. We overflow the boundaries of restraint, and we overflow into something where we feel momentarily kind of relieved of the burdens of restraint and circumstances. You know, we light up. It's got a luminous quality to it. Well, that's actually not quite. It's a miss. It's often, you know, seen as that's what love is, but actually it's not. It's something else, because love does hold the boundaries. It doesn't dismiss them. Yeah, it's a sense of respect. Sense of respect we see within people, for example, between people. You know, there's a sense of respect, and that quality of respect permeates, you know, suffuses. I respect you. And held in respect, there's a sense of hearts permeate. And still, there's a sense of, yeah, the boundaries are there. So we're not capturing somebody or flooding somebody or grabbing somebody, but, you know, recognize that the person has boundaries, and respect takes to something beyond that. I mean, it means that the person can be who she is, how he is, and you still don't lose that sense of respect and sympathy. But it's slightly different. Love can also be seen as attachment, where you kind of fixate upon your dog or your partner or your car even. You know, in a sense, you stick to it. But this also is a mistake, because it doesn't allow the object of one's love, one's attachment, to change, to pass, to leave. We feel deeply distraught at separation. It isn't really, that isn't going to work either. So love without attachment is of a different nature. It's it's acceptance, respect, acceptance, and the ability to be present in a warm and sympathetic way through all the differences that occur between people. You know? And if we crystallize that in our practice, we often find that we have certain restrictions about how we can be with ourselves, aspects of ourselves we feel disappointed by or fed up with or wish we didn't have. And we try to get rid of things, or we try to fix ourselves and be something else, or we try to we should stimulate something in us and be more, you know, more and whatever, you know, more cheerful, more bright, more creative, more engaged, more with it, you know. And just try to, you know, charge it up so it's a little more interesting. And if you're kind of disappointed with this being, with her limitations or his limitations, love is just as you are, is to be sensed, no resistance, no pressure, no obligation, just a sense of deep sympathy and warmth, warming, as you are, self-acceptance. So love supervises the practice, because, you know, one of the defective, love is a true relationship. It means it really is relationship, not possession or domination or manipulation. So And one of the ways you really recognize this domination manipulation is when you're coming to terms with your own embodiment and your own karma, your own mental habits. And there's a lot of disappointment and don't want that and be this way, and a lot of criticism, inner criticism and complaining, and rather than a sense of ability to accept the difficult, the painful, the confusing without going into aversion or blaming or hatred or despair. You know, that takes a quality we call love. And it supervises practice, because as we practice, we come through this territory of circumstances, of personal patterning. What I mean is the anxieties or the agitations or the irritability or the, the loneliness or the sense of inadequacy, these kind of things, or grudges and regrets, the residues. And this is a place where you can get locked and just continually obsess and keep kind of like stuck in it, reiterating it, banging up against it and pushing through it, trying to push through it. And sometimes this is a kind of unconscious reason, maybe, why people meditate. I can just kind of get through all this stuff and get to a clear light, and then you get the domination strategy, which is just shut all this thing up, shut up, push through, get out of all this rubbish into somewhere else. And that can be a kind of perhaps an unconscious intention in meditation. What is it? That's very far from love. And what the results are what? We get intense, we get pushy, we get domineering, and you can see this psychology happens. It's happening internally, and it's happening in the world around us. So you witness that in yourself, think, well, maybe I need to do this in order to get clear of my defilements, or just check out what that domineering habit does to the planet around you when we've got rid of those unpleasant creatures that we didn't really like very much, or were in the way, or inconvenient, smelly creatures, ugly creatures, messy creatures, and shoot them, kill them, drown them, poison them, chop them down, burn them, we've done to that, and then done it to, first of all, to other animals. Then we start turning on other people, ignorant, stupid, uncivilized barbarians in the way, noisy, messy, violent. Get rid of them too. And then it comes down to a family, stupid so-and-so, I've been living with a cantankerous old so-and-so, domestic violence and child abuse. And it's always somebody else's fault, isn't it? They're in the way, or they're difficult, or they don't fit into my way of seeing things. Therefore, I either try and control them or I get rid of them. That's the strategy, and we find that plays out in terms of your own mind. And look at the results of that. Seems counterintuitive to just be non-conflicting, peaceful with experiences, non-reactive, non-averse. Seems ridiculous. Surely they'll just take over. If we don't resist those evil forces in us, surely they'll just take over. But this is where breathing comes into play. Breathing is the central support of one's vitality, the central support of one's bodily energy. The gift that keeps us alive, that keeps us intact. That which is there for us. Whether you're feeling good or feeling bad, you're always breathing. It's continually refreshing. It's continually given. You can't demand a breath. You can't buy one. You can't get rid of them. It's a continual ongoing gift. You are the breathing. If there's anything you are, it's the breathing. The rest of it is just maybe. Yeah. Whether you're short or tall, that's maybe. Whether you're male or female, that's maybe. Old or young, that depends. Yeah. What you make of your appearance or not, that's a matter of opinion. One thing is certain, is you are the breathing. And you've been it all this time. It's been a gift. And it's a central reference point, and it's an axis of energy that as you contemplate and meditate upon it, it gives a tremendous firmness to the mind, and inner stability which does not get swept away, does not get overwhelmed, does not get flooded. It stands steady, and it gives you the foundation from which you can really open to circumstances without fear, regret, or fighting or grabbing, because you've got something that supports. This is what breathing is. Now, very often we tend to look at these things kind of what I call externally, which means you think of, breathing is something that happens respiratory tract, the nose and the lungs. Maybe the diaphragm pumps air in and out of your body, which is a reasonable description from what I call an external position. That is, if you remove yourself from the experience and think about it, you'd say that's what's happening. If you remove yourself from the experience and read about it, that's a true enough statement. When you're removed from the experience, it's looking at the experience as if you're outside it and describing it. That. It's in terms of sensations. And this is the external aspect of the body, which you can see with your eyes. Now, the internal aspect of the body, or another aspect of the body, you don't see with your eyes. It's the one you're feeling. Right? Is that true? When you sit here, can you see your ears, back of your head, behind your knees? No. You sure they're there? No. Have they gone somewhere? No, not really. It's just that you're not in that same position. You're not looking at it from the outside. You're not describing it as an idea in your mind. You're coming to another way of experiencing body, say the felt experience, which is more like we say is internal, subjective, it's sensitive. It seems to be connected to this anatomical form that we see with our eyes, but it's the heart of it, it's the sensitive essence of it. And so this is the quality that's experienced directly by heart, by awareness. The visual body is something that's seen by the eyes and thought of in the brain. It's an external experience, something we talk about. My hair is going grey, or something. You don't feel grey hair. You don't, And when you come into feeling, you have both sensations that generate feeling, such as something's touching your body, but also the internal or the felt body is much deeper. You've got the qualities that are generated by just sense contact, pressure, touching, qualities that are experiences that are generated by internal energies, tension, looseness, openness, constriction, warmth. They're not sensations, right? Relaxation is not a sensation. It's a felt experience. Feeling constricted is not a sensation. Feeling overactivated is not a sensation. It's an energy. So we also have an energy body. Got a sensation body and an energy body. Body really refers to anything that you feel yourself intimately within. Intimately within. Right? And most of the time, we don't feel ourselves to be intimately within this visual description of the body. You don't feel that. What you feel is pressure, heat, firmness, openness, tension, relaxation, flowing. So this is the directly experienced felt body. And it's also very appropriate for realization, because, as the Buddha says, within this very body is the beginning of the world, the arising of the world, the ending of the world. And this is where the way out of suffering is realized, within this sensate body with its consciousness, perceptions, and feelings. He's not talking about a bunch of meat and bones. He's talking about this sensate feeling energy body. As you contemplate it more thoroughly, you realize, oh, this is also very much associated with certain emotions. When there's tension in the body, I'm not happy. I may be excited, but I'm not happy. I'm not at ease. Yeah. When this sensate body feels agitated, I don't feel comfortable. The mind doesn't feel comfortable. When it feels relaxed and happy, the mind does feel comfortable. So it relates directly to the emotional experience, the emotional body that we live within. And you live within that too, don't you? You can be living with a depression body. You can be living with a loneliness body. You can be living with kinds of emotional territories that we move across. A grief body, so you just lost somebody, and you can be living in a bereavement body for 6 months or so, just continually feeling this emptiness and shatteredness. And it's not just an idea in your head. It's a real experience. Yeah. And so from the outside, you look pretty much the same. What's the matter with you? Get on with it, It's not an accurate description of where you're at. So you go into the energy body, where your energies are feeling very, very stretched and strained and stressed and flat and lacking vitality. And your emotions are feeling dire and lifeless and unwilling. This is big time suffering. And that can be cured, that can be healed. Now, when we come to, it needs a certain capacity to be empathetic and patient and relate to it rather than snap out of it, rather than blame yourself for being that way. I shouldn't be anxious. I shouldn't worry. I should be something that I'm not. I should be emotionally cooler. I should be emotionally happier. No. That may come around, but let's establish a proper, non-afflictive, open relationship to that. How do you do that? How do you manage that? We have to have a mooring post to stand on, a firmness to be able to say, okay, I can open to this without getting completely swamped by it. Now, we may take the breathing to be just this sensations of respiration, but that's not going to do you much good. But if you feel breathing as the life force, the vitality flowing through your embodiment as you breathe in and breathe out, that's what we're talking about. Prana, the Pali term prana. Anapanasati is the phrase for mindfulness of breathing in and out. Pana. Does that remind you of anything? We just took the first precept, Panatipata, living beings. We didn't talk about noses and lungs. We talked about those creatures that have the life essence flowing through them. They have the life force flowing through them as associated with this process of respiration. Fish don't have noses, ants don't have noses, but they're pana. They still do this respiratory process that links them to the world around. We breathe out into the world around. We take air in, we breathe air out. You know, we're all breathing the same air. You're breathing the same air as a thrush or a tiger or a pig. You know, that's the life force. Doesn't come in little cubes. You can't say this is the human bit. I'm not sharing my breath with anybody else. This is mine. It doesn't make sense. You are breathed. You're part of the breathing universe. Of course, we open to that. So it's not really a person anymore. It's not a person breathing. Breathing is there, and the mind interprets that as mine. Actually, it's just breathing, doing what it does. It's doing it for a pig or a porcupine or whatever. That's the life force, breathing in, breathing out, connecting to the world around. It means we just cannot be separate, because you have to breathe in and breathe out. So this sense of non-separation, this is where all these things line up. Not abusing other creatures, because in some way we're not separate from them. We breathe in the same air. They have prana. Not abusing other people because they breathe the same air. We have the same life force. It's like, why, you don't cut off parts of your own life force. The life force that flows through, you don't damage it. It's flowing out to others, and so on. And so rather than just get a fixation on a particular point in your body where the air is going in and out, which takes you into a very narrow, tight place, where your mind kind of gets a bit intense, trying to focus on it. Instead, you just acknowledge the gift. It happens. Bad people do it. Stupid people breathe in and out. There it is. So just, what's it feel like? Bright, breathing in, brightening energy, breathing out, cooling, releasing. Tidal flow. Where do you feel it? So let's just go soft focus on the anatomical body, which I've said is not particularly useful for meditation. So I breathe it in the feeling. I breathe it in that tight place. I breathe it. It's breathing through that loose place. It's breathing through the warmth. It's moving through the firmness. It's changing the firmness into softness. It's percolating, permeating this felt, sensate body. The anatomical body, you can say, well, no, it's just happening in my lungs and nose. But we're not looking at the anatomical body. We're feeling the feeling body. It's everything. Breathing in, everything that can be felt. It's got some kind of sense of discernment of a shift of energy. The energy tide flows through all that. Yeah. As it does so, it brings that vitality and the relief and the cleansing effect through that entire felt body. And as you can probably begin to reflect, well, isn't that what love is? Doesn't ask for anything, gives, flows through the entire felt experience. Sometimes the body feels really uncomfortable. Not just the externally, but internal knots of tension or restriction or imbalance, breathing through it, not pushing it away, not avoiding it, just breathing into it, just like you're gently breathing out into fog or into rain or into congestion, letting the breath and focusing on that transmission of fluid energy. Don't focus too much on restrictions, focus on the flow. Now, as we, of course, as we all recognize, just to be able to stay with some restricted stuff without getting, irritable and fed up and despondent, that takes respect. That's one quality of love, to not get upset, to avoid aversion, to maintain that ethical basis. I will not get abusive, I will not get violent, I will not distract myself, I will not seek an escape route from this entertainment. I'm not trying to avoid these difficult things by going on to something else, which is the whole non-entertainment. Doesn't mean not playing chess or playing the banjo. It also refers to our exit strategies, our escape routes, where we just zip off into something that will take away. No, we don't. Stay with it, breathing through that. Now, right? And what you find that quality of non-aversion and respect and sympathy, and the breathing, energy of breathing, begin to combine into something we can call it as of like a love or a breath, because they become pretty much the same thing, is like a subtle elixir, a subtle juice, a subtle energy flow that begins to heal these conflicted energies. Now, we'll talk about that more over the course of time. But just to begin to, mention to you, as you're probably aware, all that rather jittery or uneasy or sinking stuff that you call in your personality, your personal, it's itchiness or it's frustration or it's sinking places that you really would like to not have, that is resting upon something deeper. And the foundations that are energies that are not operating thoroughly and completely in an open way. It's as if you've got twisted energy channels or blocked energy channels. When you get frightened, everything seizes up. When you experience violence, things seize up. When you don't get enough warmth, things die down. The energy channels don't properly open and feed you. And this is both through the imposition of abuse of some kind or another, which is obviously not love, the opposite of it. The other form of problem is the withdrawing empathy. Withdrawing empathy is the non-loving, the withdrawal of empathy. So the system starves. You don't care. You don't mean anything to me at all. What you do, I don't give it anything. You're just a number. You're just an object. So what? get on with it, it's your life. That withdrawal of empathy, which is unfortunately quite common, that withdrawal of empathy, if we don't have the inner resources to meet it, causes a kind of contraction and saddening and defensiveness in the heart. And particularly if this withdrawal occurs at a very young age, you kind of never feel really full in the world, in yourself. But that can be changed. You can breathe yourself back to fullness. Breathing can bring you back to fullness. So this is by no means a kind of a moment at a time scrutiny of the sensations occurring at the tip of your nose. That particular exercise must have some benefits for sharpening your attention, but for what we're doing, I would suggest you drop that model and go to whole body, and soft focus on the anatomy. Just get the anatomy enough so you can get the posture right. Get the posture so that it is relevant, and then the feeling sense. So even you wouldn't try to attain a classical posture like a Greek statue of some kind or a Buddha image, just so that you feel upright and you feel open and you feel there's no constriction in your belly and your shoulders do feel dropped and you do feel like that. That's probably as good as it's going to get. And then the breathing becomes the main support. So you develop the external posture so the breathing can be full. And then gradually over time, that fullness of breathing becomes the internal support for your body. And your posture may not look so good, but actually you're being held quite comfortably with this full flow of inhalation, exhalation. So it acts like an internal energy support. And as you get familiar with it, then it begins to suffuse your felt experience. Now, this way of mindfulness of this helps us to perhaps even revisit what we mean by being mindful of breathing in and breathing out. And mindfulness can be a number of things, really. It's the ability to be present with experience, to be dispassionately present with experience. So, but so often, in my opinion, this can be used, just to be mindful of sensation, which is better than being completely out of your head, ungrounded at all. Just being mindful of sensations in your hands and your feet as you walk along. That's good. That's good. But it doesn't, it can go a lot deeper than that. Being mindful of the felt body, being mindful of the felt breathing, the vitality of breathing, being present with that. And there's a different kind of focus, because the focus on a sensation is always going to be coming down to a point. So it's a quite narrow point, refined point you pick up. And your mind, by being mindful, your mind gets this sort of claw quality to it, or probe quality, to pick up particular discrete sensations. It doesn't by itself address the character of the mind. The mind is still basically holding things as discrete objects. It's still going to the external experience of things, the external appearance of things, sensations. And as you do that, you also get to the external experiences of the mind, which is thoughts. Thoughts are the sensations of the mind. They ping on the mind. They're the mind's sensations, the thoughts. And you can do it's a thought. Because you stay in that world of objects striking you, with its sensations or thoughts, and it's not easeful. There's no dissolution of those qualities. Now, when we go more internally, you're coming to the felt experiences of sensation, how they're affecting you, and how the emotions that go behind the thoughts, the agitation or the restlessness or the joyfulness or whatever it is, and you're feeling these washes, movements, tides. And then your mindfulness isn't looking for points, it's just looking to hold things in a steady, calm, non-afflictive, sympathetic way. This is this. Because there's no point here. Like you can pick up a piece of metal or glass, you don't pick up a lump of water. You contain it all. Right? You don't pick up a discrete part of water. You contain it and you lift the thing together. Now, what we're looking at internally is much more like a water, isn't it? Flowing, fluid. How does it feel? It's often of changing qualities, sometimes firm, sometimes soft. They're fluid. It's a very fluid experience. So the mindfulness there is of a different character. It's not tight and seeking answers. It's just empathetic and holding, carefully holding, removing aversion, passion, proliferation, spinning out, worrying, doubting. Just hold this quality with a mind of goodwill. Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. So this is, we have a different way of perhaps addressing some of these foundational experiences or foundational references. I'm sure many people will teach you mindfulness, they teach you breathing, love, life. These are not esoteric concepts. But when you begin to understand that at certain depth levels of experience, the landscape changes. The qualities change, the territory changes. And as the territory changes, the tools begin to change. Mindfulness of the inner qualities is a very different creature from mindfulness of sensation. Because how do you bear something in mind? Do you use a tweezers or do you use a basin? Depends what it is. So why is this preferable? Because it's in these depth experiences you're experiencing, we might call karma. That is the results and residues of your life. Sensations, no, there's just circumstances. And if you kick a rock, it's not because you've been a bad person, it's just because you kick a rock. It's got nothing to do with anything in your past, apart from you've got, But in the internal world, you're beginning to recognize the senses of where one feels inspired, that current. This is not a circumstance. This is an ongoing current of faith, of uplift, where you experience a sense of eagerness and truthfulness and honesty. You're experiencing your values, and also you're experiencing your dissonances, places where you feel saddened or lacking or left out or afflicted. You're dealing with the stuff, the real stuff of your life. Not this is what your life is. It's not an external experience of plodding along and going here and going there. It's the internal experience of karmic cause and effect experiences flowing up that need to be met, handled, transformed, transmuted, and released. That's what life is about. The rest of it's just existence. To live a whole life, to live a meaningful life, means you show up for this experience, you know. You enlisted for this. You got born for this. It wasn't just to get a job. You didn't get born to get a job or live in a city. You got born to deal with this, to meet this. This experience of joy and sorrow, this experience of shakiness and resolution, experience of contractedness and openness, this experience of a deep wish for love and compassion and purity, and the sadness of not being able to realize it. You got born to meet this. You're here for this. Show up for this. And you don't have to figure it out in your head, because your head only deals with external circumstances. Your head will give you a very good idea of how to get the next airplane or taxi or menu going. That's great. But it won't tell you a thing about how to come to terms with grief or confusion. You just create more of it. So you've got to meditate, not from your head, from the external realities, but from the heart and the internal realities, and bringing together. So we have lived a life. We've showed up for it. We've met it as best we could. We've learned from it. And we've grown grander and greater and more magnanimous and less obsessive and less selfish through that process. And this is for our welfare and for the welfare of others, because if I'm less afflicted and tense, then my life, love, breath, energy is not going to be all twisted up. It's going to be starting to radiate, just like my breath moves out to other creatures. So my life moves out to other creatures. And that's kind of what one way of talking about what life is. So when we come into this framework of practice, just breathing. I don't feel very loving. I don't feel very kind at all. I just feel a bit confused. Breathing. I can't concentrate on my breathing. I can't find where it's just. Ask yourself, do you have a body? How do you know it? How do you feel it? Sensation there, yeah. And what is it? What is it? It's that sort of, oh yeah, it's that breathing thing. It's that slow pulsation. It's that sense of flesh and hardness and softness. Good, stay with that. The whole of it. And what within all that is the single tidal current that constantly reiterates. That we call that breathing. Yeah? Receive it as a gift. Receive it as a gift. Let it move through you. Don't try to concentrate on it. Get ready. Get stable. Yeah. Establish your view. You're here to deepen, to change certain behaviors away from planning and changing and fixing and understanding into sympathy, empathy, receptivity. And begin modestly, pragmatically, with the most directly aspect of reality that you can find, which is this breathing body. We're not looking for performance, we're not looking for goals, we're not saying go from 1 step to 2 step to 3 step to 4 step. Just linger in that and let the process deepen and meet what arises with a mind, heart that doesn't go into ill will, and with a breathing that touches these areas, breathing through. And you find that that meeting place of these two opens an awareness, like something is present, listening, spacious. As these two, the breath and the heart, meet, there is a openness, open awareness that knows that. So let's take some time for direct practice. Suggest pause and move a little bit, refresh the body.
Handamayam Dhammakataya Sadhu Karam Dadamase Sadhu 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 Anumodami.
So you take whatever time is necessary, just that which gives you a feeling of having a break, letting some of these ideas, giving the silence to let any of these thoughts, these words I've said, just a handful of them, whatever feels meaningful, just settle it down, take that in, try to verify it in your own experience, check it out in your own experience. And stand for a little while. Let's do some standing, and then return to sitting for the last period. So let's take about 15 minutes take a 5-minute break to move around, freshen up. Then we'll have 15 minutes of standing and then finish off with sitting. So if you invite you to take up standing position, 15 minutes. Advantage of standing is it takes the pressure off your spine, because now you're using your legs as a support, and your legs down to the feet, and planet Earth holding you up. Means a lot of muscles can relax deeply, and these often the muscles that relax in standing are quite significant. Abdominal muscles, chest muscles, and these are often related to tension caused through various experiences such as fear, agitation, and so forth. So if we can relax these unconsciously gripped places, we're able to feel a lot freer, a lot lighter, actually. But it does mean as you stand, you really want to get that sense of the security of the ground beneath you, as if that earth beneath you is very pleased to be holding you. If you're like a child being carried by the earth. So as you standing with your legs about hip width apart, they're not pinched, they're not narrow, it's not a stride, it's just a moderate composed stance. Balance yourself on your feet. Your feet may have been somewhat anesthetized by wearing shoes that get cramped. So take a little time and wriggle the toes, roll from one foot to the other. Flex on the balls, flex on the heels, get the feet awake. And check out your balance. So when you're tipping forward, whoops, and you're tipping back, that's about right, and you're tipping to side, the other side. And when does it come into balance? And standing, one of the great gifts of standing meditation is you can meditate on the sense of balance. It's a powerful, it's just, yeah, obviously it's physical and energetic, but it has deep connotations to the way the mind operates. The mind needs balance too. And balance is something that only a body knows how to do. And it's the place where least muscle is needed because the body is so lined up that all the weight from the head, the shoulder blades, the pelvis, all that weight is in line and it's going down, being carried by the legs. So keep your legs soft so the knees are slightly bent. So you really get the sense like a spring, and the weight of the body is being held on that spring, and the weight and the effort, the weight of it is transferring into the ground. Come into it naturally. This isn't standing to attention like a soldier. Yeah. This is poise like a gymnast. Yeah. So we're not going to be bouncing around. The legs feel springy. Turn your tailbone slightly under so your buttocks aren't sticking out, or you relax those so the more muscles you can relax, the better the practice gets. Till eventually it's just the bones, lining the bones up. You may feel nervy energy, jittery, dizzy. If that's the case, widen your attention so that your span of attention covers the entire range of the body, from the soles of the feet to the crown of the head, and most significantly includes your spine. So you form this line. And don't go into the difficult places, just keep forming that line by focusing on it, and the energies will begin to gather around that axis by themselves. And it helps to calm and steady the body. All you need to do is keep that focus. Don't add any mental direction. Not, I want this to change, I want to stop this. Just keep the focus. Opening to it. And that has an effect of its own. It allows the balancing quality to become stronger, richer. You feel more confident in it. And you find, oh, that place in my belly can now relax. That place in my eyes, my forehead, can soften. As it does so, the breathing goes deeper. If your legs feel very uncomfortable, just slightly, slowly, it's very slow, we could call it a bounce that I'm doing, which is minimal, just to ease the muscles. Even turn a little. If they start to feel tense or unsteady, particularly just keeping the whole torso, freeing up any gripping in the torso, the abdomen, the chest, the throat, the face, so that our breathing can be more complete. And any thoughts, impressions roll through, don't get involved with it. So slowly, in your own time, let's return to sitting position. But there's no break. It's not like drop, it's flow, stay, because what you're deepening. The external appearance of the body is not that important. Posture of the body is not that important. As you get into depth territory, you're really holding or being aware of those. There's a different atmosphere of depth. It's quieter. You have to go gently and steadily in that. As things are moving, one's sensitive. Don't break it. Just flow as if you're continuing to standing, but just crossing your legs and using a seat instead of the floor. As we segue into sitting, sensations may change. Different pressures may appear. There's a shift in how the body is felt, and yet it still feels. It's still that felt, energetic, sensitive experience. Carrying all of that, bearing all of that in awareness, present with all of that. You may sense within all that current, tidal current, breathing in, breathing out. You may not, but it may be that that's what's going to come through. If it doesn't come through, just maintain mindfulness of the felt body, with a mind of equanimity, listening, releasing thoughts, letting them wash through, not tangling with emotions, stepping back from that into this felt body. The commonest experience of problem is when these depth energies begin to bubble up and illuminate surface conditions. So circumstances seem extremely poignant, insecure, worrying. One feels irritated by sounds, sights, people, memories, because it's these unresolved energies drift up and lock on to circumstances in the external world. So you must restrain that process. One's thoughts can acquire tremendous drama. One's thought mind can take these energies from the depths and use them to concoct kinds of scenarios that carry the flavor of that passion, despair, irritation, fear. And then it spins out. The whole process spins out. So we've got to actually use the breathing to gather that back, those energies back, so they can be mollified and soothed, not allowed to spin out. So catching stuff as it begins to trickle out or rush out. And how does this feel? This is the quality of worry. And where in your body is that? Breathe through that. Where in your felt body is the worry place, the insecure place? Breathing through that. Having a compassionate attention over that. Running out, energies run out into desire fantasies, where in your body is that craving, that lust, that passion. Breathing, cooling, steadying that in your body. Tackling them at the source, rather than these tremendously vivid blossoms that they create. Thoughts, people, things, events, future, past. The fantasy world. Catch it, understand it, distill the energy. What's that about? Where is it in your body? Breathing through it, breathing into it, regaining it, taking it back. So as far as this group occasion occurs at this particular time, we're coming to the end of this micro session. Remember, nothing really ends. Things just segue into different this and that. But what we will be moving from is perhaps to the surface again, circumstantial world of lights and colors, shapes, sounds, time of day, and so forth. Just opening your eyes to that, not go out into it at this particular time. Just anchor yourself in the felt body, breathing the felt body, quality of kindness, compassion. Steadying. Open the sense doors. Take a little movement. And move slowly into your next phase, keeping the energy body intact. And then we'll meet again, questions period, in a little while.